I am Joe Biden and Hunter Biden is the smartest person I know. Make sure of two things. Be careful, microphones are always hot, and understand that in Washington, D.C., a gaffe is when you tell the truth. So, be careful. It's easy being vice president, you don't have to do anything.
I don't think that we should underestimate what that could mean, because in some people's mind, that means you're going to have to Xerox or photocopy your ID, to send it in to prove who you are. Well, there are a whole lot of people, especially people who live in rural communities, who don't. There's no Kinko's, there's no Office Max near them. Of course people have to prove who they are, but not in a way that makes it almost impossible for them to prove who they are. We built this country. We can manage to photocopy our ID.
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. And I am not joking. Imagine had the tobacco industry been immune to prostitutes being sued. I'm worried about families and elderly grandparents and what? Their lives at stake? Everyone is a little harder. So you know, so grandmom can walk out without having, out of her porch, without worrying about falling, can take care of herself, can be left alone. They're going to keep working to pay the bills.
And again, this is about the fact that your voice, your perspective, your experience, your truth, cannot be suppressed and it must be heard, right? And one of the things we are fighting for in a democracy, right? It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree that there are things and tools that are available to us to slow this thing down.
We've got to recognize that a kid wearing a hoodie may very well be the next poet laureate, not a gangbanger. We have this notion that somehow if you're poor you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wealthy kids, black kids, Asian kids. No, I really mean it, but think how we think about it.
I am here, standing here on the northern flank, on the eastern flank, talking about what we have in terms of the eastern flank. We have the ability to see what can be, unburdened by what has been, and then to make the possible actually happen. I have a motto: I eat and drink no for breakfast.
I probably have a much higher IQ than you do. I started thinking as I was coming over here, why is it that Joe Biden is the first in his family ever to go to a university? Am I doing this again? My memory is not as good as Justice Roberts. I think the only reason Clarence Thomas is on the court is because he is black. Parenthetically, when you build a charging station, it's like back in the day when my grandpop worked for an American oil company back in the turn of the CE, in the 1920 in that area. They went from state to state convincing people that they put a lot of them put 20,000 gallons of gasoline under the ground. They didn't want them around.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right, the significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time. Growing up, my sister and I had to deal with the neighbor who told us her parents said couldn't play with us because we were black.
You know, Delaware was a slave state that fought beside the North. That's only because we couldn't figure out how to get to the South. There were a couple of states in the way. This goes without saying. Delaware's largest growth in population is Indian Americans moving from India. You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. Now I am going to go see you know the thing, man.
For Jamaica, one of the issues that has been presented as an issue that is economic in the way of its impact has been the pandemic. So to that end, we are announcing today also that we will assist Jamaica in COVID recovery. By assisting in terms of the recovery efforts in Jamaica that have been essential to, I believe, what is necessary to strengthen not only the issue of public health, but also the economy.
I never had an interest in being a mayor cause it's a real job. You have to produce. That's why I was able to be a senator for 36 years.
We must always defend peaceful protests and peaceful protesters. We should not confuse them with those looting and committing acts of violence, including the shooter who was arrested for murder. Make no mistake, we will not let these vigilantes and extremists derail the path to justice.
I'm running as a proud Democrat for the Senate. When I was running as a proud Democrat for Vice President. I'm running as a proud Democrat president. You got more questions? I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black. The good news is, for me, I'm here. The bad news for you is, I'm coming back and I want to see these beautiful young ladies. I want to see them dancing when they're 4 years older. What happened was I got out of the shower. I got a dog and anybody who's been around my house knows, dropped. Little pup dropped the ball in front of me. And for me to grab the ball. And I'm walking through this little alleyway to get to the bedroom. And I grabbed the ball like this and he ran. And I'm joking, running after him and grab his tail. And what happened was that he slid on a throw rug. And I tripped on the rug he slid on. That's what happened. Oh man, not a very exciting story.
The American dream belongs to all of us. I understood that with the swipe of my pen as a prosecutor, I would have the decision in my pen to make a decision about someone's life. Even after smoking a joint and I did inhale. I think marijuana gives a lot of people joy, and we need more joy in the world, listening to Snoop and Tupac for sure.
My butt's been wiped.
We need to expunge non-violent marijuana-related offenses from the records of millions of people who have been arrested and incarcerated so they can get on with their lives. Even if I put them there, I have a difficult time sitting down for long periods. I'll be judged on the body of work and not the popularity of any one decision.
I'm unpopular because Americans are mentally unwell. As for the overall American mindset, people are really down. Their need for mental health in America has skyrocketed because people have seen everything upset. Everything they've counted on upset. But most of it's the consequence of what happened as a consequence of the COVID crisis. Who in God's name needs 100 rounds in a bullet, in a clip, with a gun you have?
Okay, well, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools, and she was bused to school every day. That little girl was me.
You're lying dog-faced pony soldier. Let me tell you I've got this ultra mega agenda.